everyone. So in today's video I will be installing Batocera Linux on a Raspberry Pi 4B single board computer. So get started. So you'll need a couple of things. You'll need a program called Vanilla Etcher to copy the operating system image of Batocera Linux to your microSD card, and you'll need a USB microSD card reader to copy the image onto your microSD card. And the next thing you need is just a micro SD card. You could use any size. You could use a 32 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte, 128 gigabyte, or whatever you want. But the one that I will be using today will be on a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. And this is the micro SD card reader that I'm using today. Okay, so if you don't already have a copy of this, just download it here on this website. I'll leave it in the video descriptions below. You could use other imaging software as well, not just this one. But on this video I'll be using this one. So operating system I'm using is Windows 11 Pro, so I'll be selecting this one. Just download it and install that, and go to Batocera's website. Go to downloads, and I'll be selecting the one for Raspberry Pi 4. You just click on it and you should download it. For most people, the download folder should be right here, right there, and then you just find the location of that after you start Etcher. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in my USB card reader with my micro SD card in it. So now it's plugged in and it's empty. There isn't anything inside here. So this is the card. I'm going to write down iDrive, and make sure you know which drive it is, because if you select the wrong one, it's going to delete everything on it. So now I'm going to start Vanilla Etcher. Batocera Linux is like Retropie. It's like Recalbox or any other multi-platform emulation software using I think Retroarch. So now let's begin starting Vanilla Etcher. Now I'm going to select where the file is. The file, no, I'm sorry about that. Crap, got that wrong. Okay, find out where you have the file. So for me, I have it this is where I put my file, so I'm going to copy that link, Control-C, flash from file, Control-V, and this is the file that I want to image. And I want to select my target drive. For me, I said it was iDrive, which is right there. This is the one. So make sure you select the right one. If you select the wrong one, everything on it is just going to be wiped out. So that's the correct one. It's 32 gigabyte micro SD card. Select yes. This may take a little bit of time. Actually, it's going to be pretty fast because I have a pretty fast micro SD card reader. Well, it's decompressing first, and then it's going to write it to the microSD card. Speed is about anywhere from 15 to about 28 megabytes per second. So this thing is basically like Batocera Linux is like I said, it's like Retropie. It's like Retroarch, where it's like a Recalbox. And like I said, it's built on the Retroarch platform. So I guess Retropie, Batocera, and the other one, Batocera and Recalbox, are kind of like, they're developed from Retroarch basically. They may have different appearances in the front, but I guess the core is based on Retroarch. One thing I like about Batocera is that it has Kodi on it, and in today's video I will be testing various emulators on Batocera Linux. I'll be testing everything from the Nintendo Entertainment System to a Sega Dreamcast on it. And on the next video I make, I will be testing Kodi on the Raspberry Pi using the Batocera Linux operating system as well. You could install Kodi as a standalone on a Raspbian OS, but I tried that before, and the performance was not very good. It was quite it had some performance issues even on a Raspberry Pi 4, and from my experience I found that it is much better to use it on something like Batocera, using Kodi on Batocera Linux, or something like Recalbox. The performance was much better, even when I tested it on a lower powered single board computer like a Orange Pi PC, which has a lot less performance than something like a Raspberry Pi 4B. So right now it's just validating it, and it's reading pretty fast. The read speed on this microSD card they claimed it was about 95 to 100 megabytes per second. I'm getting about that. So now it's verifying it. Everything is done. Okay, good. Good. So right now it says it's finishing. Okay, it's done. I don't want to flash another one, so I'm just going to exit. I could just eject the card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into my Raspberry Pi 4 next. So I'm just going to take my micro SD card reader out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this micro SD card in my Raspberry Pi 4 SBC. Okay, now I just started my Raspberry Pi 4. Just turned it on right now. And it's starting the Batocera Linux operating system, or booting it up. Right now it's just configuring everything to my Raspberry Pi 4B SBC. Okay, so it's booted up now. So the first thing you have to do is configure your gamepad or controller. I have a Logitech F310 gamepad, so what you do is you just press on a key or a button, just keep pressed, detects it. It shows you exactly which buttons to press, so A, B, X, Y, start, select, D-pad up, down, left, right, left one, right one, analog left, up, analog left, 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 okay, analog right, up, analog right, left, okay, and left 2, I think that's the one at the bottom, left, right 2, that's the one at the bottom, L3, I think that's the analog left button, just press it. R3 is the analog right button, just press it. I'm going to select button as my hotkey, so you can just lightly tap on that, just like that, and then press, I think, A, and then you're done. And right now I don't have any ROMs that are in here, so what I'm going to have to do is go back to my computer and put ROMs into the emulators folder. I could also put some BIOSes in the BIOS folder, and for more complicated types of emulators like Sega CD, PC Engine CD, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, and others, I guess Neo Geo also, you need BIOSes for them, so you have to put the BIOS files in the BIOS folder. For the ROMs, you just put it into the ROMs folder. So now I'm going to go back to my computer and do that. There's some other things I forgot to do before I go back to my computer. First thing is I want to find my IP address. So it's 192.168.1.110, and another problem is that there's no sound. We could remedy this too, so press start, go to system settings, press A, down to hardware, and select HDMI. For video for audio output, for audio profile, it's HDMI. Now go to back. That's loud. I'm going to turn that down. So as you can see, the sound does work now. I could go back to my computer. Okay, now back on my computer, and now I'm going to be transferring some files to my Batocera Linux operating system. So this is what the IP address was, and that's the host name. You could use either one to get there. Control C. I'm going to press Control V, and I'm able to access Batocera like that. I can also access it this way as well by using the host name. Either one is fine. So I'm going to put some ROMs in here. Atari 2600 is this one. Atari 7800 is here. All you have to do is just drag and drop. Game Boy, I think it's called GB. Genesis, I think it's called Mega Drive. There it is. N64 is N64. Oops, I put it in the wrong one. That's not N64, that's Genesis actually, or Mega Drive. N64. It transfers rather quickly. Neo Geo. Let's put some ROMs in it. For the Neo Geo, you don't put the BIOS in the BIOS folder. Instead, you just put it into the ROMs folder as Neo Geo. So that's a BIOS for the Neo Geo one. Just put it into the Neo Geo ROMs folder, which I just did. Okay, now I'm going to put some ROMs into NES folder, Nintendo Entertainment System. It's just NES. PC Engine, that's TurboGrafx 16. I think it's called PC Engine. NEC PC Engine. PlayStation is called PSX. And what you have to do when you get them in zipped format, you have to unzip it and put it into a folder like this, or it's not going to work. I don't think you can use zip files. You have to load the ISO file, and this is a big file, so it takes a little bit more time. Okay, it's done. Sega CD, and you have to have the BIOS for this in order for it to work. It's a big file, so it'll take you a little bit of time to get them in there. For example, this is 456 megabytes. That's 320 megabytes. Dreamcast. It's just called Dreamcast. These are very large files, so they'll take a pretty long time to get in there. Raspberry Pi 4 has, I think it has 100 base, 1000 megabit network. So maximum transfer rate is about 100 megabytes per second. Okay, now it's done. Sega Saturn. I think it's just called Saturn. The Sega Master System is SNES, Super Nintendo. Okay, so all that's in. If you want to put stuff into the BIOS folder, you can. So I'm going to put all the BIOSes that I have in there, just like that. Okay, got all the BIOSes in there. Got all the ROMs I wanted to put in there. So now I'm going to go back to my Raspberry Pi 4 SBC with Batocera Linux on it. Okay, now I'm back to Batocera Linux. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change some of the sound settings. I don't want the sound in there, so I'm going to disable the music. So in order for us to see the ROMs that I put in, you have to restart the operating system. Restart it. And after it boots back up, you should be able to see everything I put in. I also put in ROMs for the Sega 32X, which I didn't show. I also put in ROMs for Atari Lynx, which I didn't show. So I'll be testing out all the operating systems to show you how they perform on Batocera Linux for the Raspberry Pi 4 SBC. Now I should be able to see everything I put in. Okay. For some reason on Batocera Linux, if you put Sega 32X ROMs in there, there's no Sega 32X. So where it is located is at Sega Mega Drive. As you can see, Shadow Squadron is a 32X, Sega 32X game. Star Wars Arcade 32X is also a Sega 32X game. So on. So I'm going to start to test the Atari 2600. Play my favorite game, which is Missile Command. So this computer is connected through Ethernet cable. I find that connecting a SBC to a Ethernet cable is a lot better than connecting it to a Wi-Fi. I always preferred hard wiring. Okay, this works great. Now let's try the Atari 7800. Play my favorite game for this video game console. I like how they have the overlays for Batocera Linux, which they didn't have for Retropie. Okay, that's enough. To get out, it's a hot button and start, okay? To get out of this. Try the Atari Lynx. And A is to start the game. Like I said, to get out, it's hot button and start. Or if you want to go into the Retroarch menu, I think it's hot button and A to go into the Retroarch menu, and you could change settings here. Change video settings. And as you can see, this is a Retroarch. This is based on Retroarch, as you can clearly see here. If you tried Retroarch for the PC, it's the same. Except it's a full screen, windowed or whatever. I don't think Windows would work here because we're not using Windows. There's the output. Definitely change settings for it. You can change the drivers for it. You can change the buttons, whatever you want. You can change the scaling for it. Ratio can be changed. It could be changed to 4:3, which is pretty standard for retro games. We could change it to core provided. Whatever you want, basically. To get out, I think you press, go to the main menu, quick menu, go to resume, just like that. This does, the overlay makes it look like looks like an Atari Lynx. This definitely gives it that retro gaming experience. So let me get out of that. Okay, that worked. PC Engine. Try my favorite game for that video game console. Okay, enough of that, that's good. Worked. Let's try sidearms for that. For the PC engine, NEC PC engine. I think the PC engine was released in 1988 or 1989. It was released when I was going to junior high school. I was wanted one, never able to get it. Well, I was able to borrow from my friend in about when I was going to high school in 1992. Because one of my friend's friend had a friend of his whose mom was like a millionaire, so she bought her son just about every video game console that was out there, so able to borrow it and play it from him. Okay, that's ran pretty good. Try the Nintendo Entertainment System on. I shouldn't have any problems running any of these 8-bit video game consoles. So it's using the Famicom overlay, not the Nintendo Entertainment System overlay, as you can see. Well, basically the NES is a Nintendo Famicom. Except it didn't have a disk drive, it only used ROM cartridges, unlike the Famicom. think Famicom meant family computer, Nintendo family computer. Released only in Japan. Okay, that's enough. Let's try the Game Boy. Play my favorite game, Tetris. The Game Boy came with this game. This was a game that it came with, kind of like how for the NES, Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and Gyromite were the games that came with the NES. And for the Atari 2600, I think Combat was the game that it came with. Okay, that ran pretty good. So let me get out of here. And not a surprise, it should run good. Try to say Super Nintendo. Try Star Fox. That's a more demanding game. I think this game used something called an FX chip. So it's using the Super Famicom overlay, not the Super Nintendo. I did have some problems when I tried to run this game on a Raspberry Pi Zero. Did have some performance issues. See, there are no performance issues with this. This is running exactly like how it ran when I played it on the Super Nintendo back in, I think, 1993 or something, or 1992. Can't really remember. A long time ago. The good thing about the Super Nintendo was that the game developers put like chips in the games, in the ROM cartridges, which enabled the games to be improved greatly. Because I mean, this is not a software improvement. The game had an actual FX chip in there. This game did, and so did Donkey Kong Country, which made the games look very good like this. Definitely, this is using the 3D potential of this Super Nintendo. I think it's better than anything, any other system at the time, any other 16-bit system. Okay, let me get out of here. That ran pretty good for such an advanced game, for a 16-bit system. Now I'm going to try Sega Mega Drive. Well, let's try Sega Master System. And I'm also testing these 8-bit systems just to see that the ROMs do work. Not just checking the performance of it, but to actually see if these ROMs are working, which is also important. Okay, that ran pretty good. There weren't any glitches or anything like that. Let's try Sega Genesis. In Japan they called it the Mega Drive. In the US they called it Sega Genesis. Let's try Castlevania, my favorite game for the Sega Genesis or Sega Mega Drive. The Mega Drive and the Genesis look pretty similar. The overlays reflect that. So Batocera is different for every platform. For example, when I ran it on the Retrorangepi PC, or ran the Retrorangepi PC version of Batocera, I did have some problems running NEC PC Engine games. They just simply would not run for some reason. But on the PC or the X82 or X64 version of Batocera, didn't have any problems running NEC PC Engine, or on this one, which is for the Raspberry Pi 4. I had, as you saw, I didn't have any problems running PC Engine games at all. They all ran fine. Okay, that's good. Mega Drive CD. And you have to have the BIOS for this in order to run it.
Prepare for Operation Start.
It's got wireframe graphics, but for the arcade version, it doesn't have wireframe graphics. The objects in the games are fully textured for the arcade version, but for the Sega CD version, it isn't. Nevertheless, it's still a fun game. Okay, that ran good. Okay. No problem there. Let's try Sega 32X. So the Sega 32X was basically a Sega Genesis, which enabled you to play it was kind of like a cartridge upgrade. You put it in the cartridge section, and it enabled you to play 32-bit games on the Sega Genesis. The Sega 32X did receive some pretty good reviews. However, Sega never really had a lot of game developers for it. And also they wanted to promote their Sega Saturn video game console, which was a dedicated 32-bit game console. So this system, or this upgrade, never really took off, even though it had a lot of potential. Okay, that ran pretty good. Didn't have any problem running 32X. The AI is not very good on this. Really not good at fighting games, but this looks pretty good. It doesn't look as good as a Sega Saturn, but it's definitely better than the Sega Genesis. That ran pretty good. It's a Sega Saturn is something I'll run next. Let's try that. I did put the BIOS files in here. For some reason, this is something is missing. That one doesn't work. That sucks. Guess we won't be playing it. Guess I didn't have the right BIOSes, or I didn't have the name correctly. So let's try the Neo Geo. Select this and put in coins, and then start is to start.
Okay. Mission 1. Start. Thank you. Machine gun.
Okay, I got killed by that scimitar wielding guy. Okay. Alright. We ran pretty good. Try this one. The Neo Geo overlay looks pretty nice. It looks like a real Neo Geo. This system was pretty expensive when it first came out. I think the console cost over $300. Maybe it was $500. I'm not sure. Each game was at least $250 or something like that. That was a lot of money back then. Back in 1992. The reason why the games were so expensive was that the games were in ROM cartridges, and ROM used a solid state RAM, so obviously that's expensive. Or RAM prices were expensive back in the 1990s. This thing was meant to be an arcade board also. But they did sell it as a home video game console. But it really wasn't that successful for a home video game console because obviously it was too damn expensive. Okay, that ran pretty good. Wow. Okay, good. Let's try PlayStation. Run Gran Turismo. My favorite game for the PlayStation. How do you shift gears? Okay, that's a brake. That's a rear unit here. Okay, that's how you shift gears. You can downshift as well. Okay, that ran pretty good. Not surprising. Let's try R-Type for the Sony PlayStation. This is a modernized version of R-Type, which was released in the, I think, mid-1980s, which was a popular side scrolling shooter. Got destroyed. Okay, that's it. It ran pretty good. No problems there. Now let's try the last one, the Dreamcast. Go and run silent scope on it. My favorite game for Dreamcast. plays nicely. It doesn't have any performance issues on the Raspberry Pi 4, and that's to be expected. Okay, that's enough for that. Let's try another Dreamcast game. Try House of the Dead. Another shooter. Gallery shooter.
We're meeting G over there. Please be safe, G.
Nevertheless, it is playable.
G! James. Harry and Amy are coming to... I don't want to die! My God. Don't run! Don't run! Go away! Please! Logan! Don't kill me! No! No! Help me! Help me! Thanks. You can get outside that way.
Thank you for rescuing me.
Okay, it didn't run as smoothly as I thought it would, but it ran okay. It was playable. This is pretty playable. That's the maximum speed of this car. 91 miles an hour. Okay, that's enough. Ran pretty good. Not bad. Okay, so what do I think about it? I think this is as good as Retropie. However, on Retropie, it did run a lot better for more advanced emulators like the Sega Dreamcast. Other than that, this is okay. Plus it has an additional feature like Kodi Media Center, which you could use to watch movies and stuff. I'll just show you the basics of it. So if you want to add stuff, you could add it here. Install from repository, go to video add-ons. You can install this. And you could also put in your own video files. They could be MPEG-4, DivX files, AVI files, and you could play them on Kodi. Installation failed. What? Try something else. Okay, it was installed, so I'll just show you how this works. This basically works. You go to add-ons, and I'm going to go to NHK World. Just play some streams. Some of these work, some of them don't work. For this one it works. Okay, good. Get out, press B. Get out. If you don't want to watch it anymore, and then if you want to get out of here, keep pressing B. And go to, press left with your D-pad. Go up and go to that power button and quit Batocera. You could also press the hot button and start and go there. Hot button start and exit Batocera like that. Yeah, I just put a USB stick in there, and it has some media files in it, so I'm going to try running it. On Kodi. Go to videos. USB 3FD, okay. Go to media. I could play media files directly from a USB drive, as you can clearly see. I'm going to turn off the sound because I don't want to get a copyright protection strike. You could use the left analog pad to fast forward, as you can see that I'm doing on the top. I don't know if you can see that or not. Get out. It's press B. Play some videos here. This is an AVI file. So you could watch movies like this if you have them on AVI or DivX format. So that's a DivX format file with Leon the Professional. You could press select and you can go to this part. Information not available. Okay. To get out, press B again. Get out, press B. And you could just generally play files or run files on a USB stick, which I just did. Or you could use video add-ons, like I added NHK Live. You could stream videos like that, or you could just play them from your USB drive. That's a good thing about Batocera. So to get out, you could press select and exit Batocera. And in my opinion, Kodi runs a lot smoother on Batocera. And I want to show you something else about Batocera. Kodi on Batocera, sorry. Go here, go to system information. It shows you the IP address of this device. This device has 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's a Raspberry Pi 4B. 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's using about 1 gigabyte of RAM, so I have 1 gigabyte free. It's running at 1080p. The storage device is a 32 gigabyte microSD card. I think that's in div MMC BLK0P2, and below that it's dev SDC1 and dev SDB1. That would be for the USB flash drive. Here's the network information. Doesn't show the CPU temperature for some reason. Right now it's using 34% of my system memory. The percentage of CPU power is 0 to 1.9%. So this is a pretty powerful machine. If I want to get out, press select. I'll press A again. That's simply it. So as for Batocera Linux, I think it's very versatile. Not only can you play most emulators on it, you can also use it as a Kodi media player, which makes it pretty versatile. And yeah, it's as good as Retropie or Recalbox or anything like that. Basically, they're the same thing almost, except I have to say that Retropie does perform better in performing emulation on more advanced emulators like the Sega Dreamcast and stuff like that. So other than that, that's the only difference that I could find, and that's pretty much it. So anyways, if you have any thoughts, you can leave them in the comment section. But thanks for watching. By Ace 1000 Chaos 1975 signing out. So I'm just going to shut it down. Make sure to shut down the system after you're finished with it. Okay, thanks for watching.